Welcome to Your Money Counts, a podcast brought to you by Marquette Savings Bank. I'm Sean Fedorko, your host, and today we're going to be talking about the different options that are available to you if you'd like to fix up the home you live in, or if you're thinking of buying a fixer-upper and putting a lot of work and money into making it the home you really want. Before we dive into hard-hitting questions, we're of course going to take a little time to get to know our lenders. So if you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves and telling us your favorite place to shop.
My name is Angela Diver. I'm the branch manager of our Liberty Street office here in Erie. One of my favorite stores to shop in is Marshall's, just because they always have something new and different in there to look at.
Yeah, I wander around every time I'm on Upper Peach. Just
It's like
what's new.
one of the only stores that I may look through most of the store.
Yeah.
Not just go for what I'm there for.
Tricia Snook. I am the branch manager at our Sterretania Street office. And I have 3 very busy young boys, so I don't get into many stores. So I'm more of an online shopper myself.
Okay, where are you shopping from here?
Mostly sporting goods stores.
Really?
So, yeah.
Okay.
They're all into sports,
They're
so I
very-
don't have
okay.
much time for anything else.
Okay.
I'm Jennifer Bond, and I'm the manager of the Peach Street office. And I, like Angela, would have to say TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Home Goods. There's always something different, but you got to buy it. If you find something that you have to have, that you can't live without,
you're shopping for the deal.
You have to buy it that day.
Yeah.
No.
Because
It
if
won't
you
be
put
there.
it down and go home to think about it,
Won't be there the next
There was
day.
someone behind the corner of the aisle, and they
Right.
saw you looking at
They're
it,
like,
and they're
"Ooh."
going to snipe it. Yeah.
Exactly. What about you? What's your favorite store?
Wegmans.
Oh, I know.
Are you kidding me? I just
I
walk
know.
around Wegmans. I don't have to shop there. It's just a feel-good place.
Yep, that's the truth.
All right. Well, let's suppose for those who are listening, they've got a home and they've been kicking around the idea of fixing it up. Maybe they want to add an addition. Maybe they want to refinish the basement or the attic. Maybe they just want to take out a wall and make a master bedroom. Who knows? What are the options that they have to come to Marquette? Maybe they got their home loan through you. Maybe they didn't, but they are going to come talk to you about this new project. Tell us about this process. I walk in the door and I say, I think I'm going to need some money to fix up my house.
So typically, exactly that's what happens is we gather some facts as to your scenario and what you're looking to do first. And then we're going to look at your current mortgage situation. So how long have you owned your home? Do we have some equity in the house now? Or do we need to seek for an appraisal with improvements to get some equity to do those improvements? So we got to kind of take a look at the whole picture first.
So go ahead and explain that about an appraisal with improvements in order to get the money to do the improvements.
Right. So sometimes you haven't owned the home long enough or haven't put enough money into it yet to be in a position where you have equity available. When we say that, typically we will only lend up to 80% of the value of the home. So if you're not at that mark quite yet, you may be able to get some bids for what you're looking to do on the property. And then we would provide those bids or estimates to an appraisal that would basically give us a value upon their completion. So we would look at, if you were building a garage, once that garage is built, how much is the house going to be worth once that's done? And is then there the equity there to support the finance?
Okay, so I want to tease this out. So if I have a home and it's worth, $100,000, to use easy numbers, I could take out, if I have enough equity, up to 80% of the value of the home. So I could take out up to $80,000 if I want to build sort of a real big addition, maybe a garage. But if I don't have enough equity in the home yet, I can't take out that much money. Well, maybe $80,000 was exactly what I needed. So you're telling me that after the addition, the house is obviously going to be worth more. And so you could do a calculation and say, well, is the house going to be worth $200,000 when you're done because of the improvements to the home and the property? Well, if that's the case, then we can consider, well, what's the house going to be worth when it's done? And now you can take up to some percentage of that, maybe 80%.
That's
let's say.
same 80% of the completed value. So if it's now worth 200, then you have 160,000 to work with.
Okay.
Minus what you might
gotta
already owe.
Keep
Right.
in mind, if you have a mortgage now, we're going to have to deduct that out of the 80% first.
And I think it's important to, point out that when we're going to work with a customer and they're going to borrow the additional funds for improvements, that we have a draw schedule where we hold that money in process. And if the appraiser's going out and appraising the property and using those improvements to impact the value of the property for us to lend them, then we want to make sure that the funds are in a controlled disbursement account. So every contractor, every scenario is different. Some customers will work with a contractor where the contractor will have a draw schedule, and they say, we want 3 draws with, 30% in the first, 30% in the second, and 40% in the third. Or the contractor may request draws throughout the process and for different pieces of it. So each time, I'm sorry.
No, so Marquette kind of gets involved with the contractor.
Correct.
I just have to kind of get the plan, but it's not like I have to write the check. Right. You and the contractor will work out whatever the schedule is.
Well, you as the homeowner will work out the arrangement and agree to it. And when the contractor is ready for a draw, they'll reach out to you as the customer and they'll say, I'm ready for a draw. And you have a draw form that you'll sign authorizing the bank to come out, do an inspection of the property. And then once the inspection's completed, then we'll go ahead and release the funds.
Okay, so I'm involved at least making sure, hey,
yes.
yeah, this is the right progress. I'm
right.
still happy with the job. Go ahead and release more
Correct, because
right.
we're not going to release the funds or initiate that inspection without you initiating it. You're the person that's driving that. Because if you're, wanting to make sure that a piece of that is done before you release the funds, then that's your prerogative as the customer.
So you'd said that I need a bid first. Does this mean that I have to go out, find a contractor, like actually get the whole thing scoped before I can come get the loan, or do I come talk to you first?
We will need those bids because in order for us to determine the value when the work is completed, we need to give those bids to the appraiser prior to them going out to the home. So when they go out to the house, they're going to look at the existing structure and say, okay, here's what it's worth now. And if I look at this bid and say the garage is completed, here's what that value is going to be once all of that is done. So the appraiser needs that in order to determine the final value.
Okay, well, what if I'm going to do the work myself? I'm not, digging a new basement, but I'm just sort of extending off the back, making a new living room, or, renovating a room to be an office or something like that, taking out a wall so my kitchen and living room kind of go together. I don't know, putting a new floor, right? What if I'm doing this work myself? How do we bid that?
So it depends on it depends on exactly what the plans are, but if you were just going to do some updates, maybe cosmetic updates, and you were going to put in new flooring or new countertops or things like that, you could go and get those estimates from the supplier. So you won't have a labor cost. Maybe you'll just have the cost of the material.
And I can just go to Lowe's and get kind of a quote.
They give you a quote for
yeah.
how much, how many square footage of carpeting you need or whatever. And then we would take those in account as to the improvement.
So I think everything we've been talking about comes out of this first scenario where I don't have enough equity in my home to get to borrow up to 80%. What if I do have most of the equity in my home? What if I own the house outright?
Sure. So if you own the home free and clear and the amount that you're looking to borrow is within that 80% loan to value, then it isn't necessary for us to hold that money in process. We would, process the loan request and disperse the funds to you, and then you can use the funds as you see fit, because that money that we've lent hasn't taken into consideration an improvement to the house to impact the value of it. So whether you put it into the house, or not, that's up to you.
So this is interesting. It sounds like, I've got a mortgage on the house, and maybe I'm real close to paying it all off. So if it's $100,000, I've already given you 90 or something, and I want to take 30. I want to borrow 30,000, do improvements. It's kind of just like I'm taking 30 back. I'm going to improve the house. You're not taking that into consideration. As far as you're concerned, it's still a $100,000 house. Let's say I do that. Then when I'm done, do I just have that additional 30,000 and I'll pay back? Is that effectively what's happening?
Right. It's basically you just borrowing your
own money.
Your own money. It's you taking the equity out. One thing I would guard against if you are doing improvements is, although like Jen talked about earlier, us holding it in that controlled disbursement environment, we still like to let you know you probably don't want to just give all that money up front to your contractor.
Okay.
You probably want to put it in, say, an account with us where you still draw up a draw schedule with your contractor, that you're still kind of paying them in those increments.
Okay, so even
So you may want to do that yourself. It just wouldn't be that the bank required you to do that.
okay, but you'll still like do that service in order to make sure that I've got sort of these milestones to measure the contractor against.
We don't get involved in that transaction unless we have to hold it in process because it's impacting the value of the property and our equity position. If that's something that's separate and you're just doing the improvements on your own because of the equity, or you're having a contractor do them because of the equity, that would be between you and your contractor.
We just advise you that you probably still want to go that route.
Okay, good. That sounds helpful. Well, let's ask what happens after I'm done. So I've improved my home. You didn't have to come out and have an appraiser do it because I had enough equity. I was able to borrow money. Now I think my home is worth more. How does that impact me? So I've made these improvements. What should I keep in mind? I'm going to contact you and say, I think my house is worth more. What do we do?
Well, if you're not looking to do any lending, you don't necessarily need to do anything at that point.
I don't need to get new appraisal after that.
No, because we lent based on your current equity situation. So we're not taking into account those improvements. Now, if a year or two from now you want to do something else, at that point, maybe we need to appraise again and look at the fact that the house is probably increased in value and take those new numbers in consideration for your new loan. But if you're not taking out a loan or doing anything that way, you don't have to do anything at that point.
So this is a little reassuring because it tells me that if I'm pretty close to paying off my mortgage, but I'm like getting antsy, I've been thinking about renovations, I can take out the money and do them. I don't have to be worried about this impacting, the terms of the mortgage or my relationship with my bank. I can just improve my home, maybe remodel my basement and enjoy it and not have to worry about that impacting anything else about the relationship. Just that I've got some money to pay back.
Mm-hmm. And you have a greater equity position in your house now.
Okay, I like this. So, we've talking about a case where I actually own the home, right? And I'm going to fix it up, or I'm going to remodel or expand it. What if I'm buying a fixer-upper? Tell me about what's going to happen when I come to Marquette and I'm buying a house. There's not even a working bathroom in it, or the kitchen desperately needs redone. What is this relationship going to be like?
So it's very similar to you doing the improvements on your own home in a sense that when we write up the loan agreement, we're going to allocate funds towards the purchase of the property and then separate funds allocated towards the home improvements. So you would get those same bids just like you would in the other scenario to provide to us, and we would hold them in process with that same procedure for the renovations that you're doing to the new home.
So we've got episodes talking about kind of securing a mortgage to buy your home. And that's kind of a simple, it's a complicated process, but it's a clear process. I'm getting a mortgage and I bought a home and I can move in. In this case, you're saying there are two steps. We're to have kind of two loans. There's one to buy the house. Oh, whoa. We said, no, I got a big no.
Only
Never
one
two
loan.
loans. There's still one loan.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
So
One loan.
when you come in to apply for the mortgage, you're going to have your sales agreement that says you're buying this house for X amount of dollars, and then you're going to provide us with a bid or an estimate from the contractor that's going to do all the improvements that you want. So it does take some coordinating with you, the seller, the realtors involved in the transaction, because when you come in to apply for the mortgage, you need to know how much the cost of those improvements are going to be, because those are all taken into consideration and factored in, when you're applying for the mortgage, as far as the new value, the loan amount, things like that.
So if I'm buying a fixer-upper, part of that process of checking out the home is getting a contractor to come in and tell me what it's going to take to finish the bathroom or to remodel the kitchen, to add that third bedroom, whatever it's going to be. I imagine maybe re-roofing or something like this kind of major improvement that's going to be needed in order for me to occupy it. I've got to come to the bank with that ready. Mm-hmm. It's still one loan.
Correct.
Part of the money goes to buy the house. The other part of the money is held to be dispersed to the contractor.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So what should I keep in mind? But if this is the first time I'm doing this, like, I guess, how do I find the right contractor? Like, how do I know what's reasonable to spend on a bathroom? I mean,
that's I think a lot going to come with realtors might have some suggestions. Family and friends is probably my biggest recommendation to use.
And it's always good to get 3 bids for the work that you want to have completed,
So you see a lot of these bids. So is it good to come in and say, well, I've got these 3 bids. I don't want to go too cheap and something's not going to be done right. I don't want to spend too much and, spend way more than I need to. You see a lot of these. Do you kind of help people understand like what's a reasonable scale of investment for that particular property?
Well, I think it really depends on the customer, because if this is going to be your forever home and you're not planning on moving, then you may want to put a higher end cabinet in, or a little better floor or something like that, or better flooring choice, because that you're going to be there for a while, and what might be a little bit more expensive might make sense because it's what you like and it's what you prefer. So it's really a personal preference.
Right. We can't make the choice for you, but we can hopefully lead you in the right direction.
So, one of the things I guess we should talk about is is there ever a time where you're going to caution somebody not to make those improvements or not to improve that particular home to that degree? Because that's not the you don't want to pour that much money into a neighborhood that you might not be living in 10 years, or a house that might not suit your family's needs in 10 years. When do you caution people and say, we can give you this money, but we're not sure that that's the best investment?
Well, I think ultimately it'll come down to the appraisal, because when we hire an appraiser to go out to do an appraisal of the property, they're going to look at the plans and the specifications that you've provided to us. And ultimately, they're going to tell you, once the improvements are completed, this is what the new anticipated value of the home is going to be. And when you get that appraisal back, I think a lot of times when you sit down with a customer and they look at that appraisal, it helps them to better understand if this is something that they want to do, because, when you do renovations and improvements, it's not always necessarily a dollar for dollar increase.
So it's not one for one. If I put $50,000 in to my $100,000 home, I'm not guaranteed to have a $150,000 home.
Right. It depends on. I mean, there are a lot of variables there, and what impacts that appraised value. But I think ultimately, we've all had appraisals, that have come back with improvements, and the customer has to decide, are these improvements that they really want to do? Are they really
it can be an eye opener that, wow, I really thought these improvements were going to increase the value more than maybe it does. And you kind of have to second guess or go back to the drawing board on what you really, what your end goal is and what you really want to do to the home.
The appraiser is really your guide in that sense.
Okay.
We're going to look at the appraisal for the value of the property, but the appraiser is the one that scopes out the neighborhood and looks for those comparable properties to compare it to. So all of that detail is within the appraisal report.
So where I'm thinking of like something that's got really popular on like HGTV, right? Like flipping houses, right? Buy a house, do some improvements, sell it for way more. Is that easy to do? Or maybe has some of our like popular entertainment given us the illusion that that's easy to do? It's actually maybe quite difficult to find a home where that's going to work out.
I think it depends on what the person buys the house for, how much money they have to put into it, and how cosmetics. I mean, there are a lot of things that can change the look of a house that are just cosmetic. They're not structural, So, I think you hear a lot of times if the bones of the house are good, then that's important.
It's a show on HGTV.
Yeah, what?
That's a good one. The Good Bones.
Good bones?
Yeah.
I've always wanted a house made out of bone. Good, sturdy bone. Okay, so I think we've talked about kind of the two major scenarios. I either have a home and I want to make it better, or I'm no longer happy with my home, or maybe I'm buying my first, and I know I'm going to want to fix up whatever I buy. Is there any sort of last piece of advice you would give to our audience who are considering one of these two courses?
The best thing you could do is come in and meet with one of our loan officers, because we've seen so many different scenarios, and we can typically work with you to figure out what's the best way to go. Sometimes structuring something a little bit different that might not be the standard loan scenario.
Because we haven't talked about every possible structure or solution here,
Right.
but you can obviously look at a specific case and go deeper. Thank you for tuning in today to Your Money Counts, a podcast brought to you by Marquette Savings Bank. If you'd like to learn more, you can go to marquettesavings.bank to schedule an appointment online with one of these lenders. You can talk to them face-to-face or over the phone. Your Money Counts is a podcast brought to you by Marquette Savings Bank, an equal housing lender and a member FDIC. I'm your host, Sean Fedorko, and I hope you'll tune in next time.